Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, had a secret that few knew during his early days. He carried a gun. Not to threaten or harm, but to feel powerful, a small shield in a world that was about to change him forever. This secret habit he shared with another local legend, Gene Bradbury. The thought of Elvis with that iconic image of peace and love, secretly carrying a weapon, might shock many fans. Yet it was a part of him, a piece of his journey that he quickly moved past, preferring to wield his voice and charm instead. In the heart of Memphis, at Lauderdale Courts, a building more like a barracks than an apartment complex, the roots of Elvis's early life are still palpable. This place, now refurbished, holds memories of a simpler time when Elvis and his family lived there, among other families struggling to make ends meet. For many, Lauderdale Courts is more than just a building. It's a shrine, a place where the memories of Elvis's humble beginnings come alive. Fans and former neighbors gather weekly, sipping coffee and sharing stories, keeping the spirit of the past alive. To understand Elvis's early life, one must picture a modest apartment, the first decent home for the Presleys, provided by public housing for families with incomes below $3,000. Gladys Presley, Elvis's mother, seemed to love this place more than any of the luxurious spaces she later moved to, including Graceland. For Elvis, it was a time of normalcy, of feeling less like an outsider. Here, among neighbors who would become like a second family, Elvis grew up, dreaming of a future beyond the confines of these rooms. Lauderdale Courts was more than just a residence, it was a community. Kids like Neil Niker, who was a few years younger than Elvis, remember him as just another kid from the neighborhood. Neil shared a bike race story with Elvis, a moment of camaraderie that showed Elvis wasn't above playing like any other child. Yet whispers of Elvis's future greatness were there too. Neil recalled seeing Elvis on a variety show in 1954, performing and impressing everyone, though no one could have imagined the star he was becoming. Jealousy and resentment were not unfamiliar in the neighborhood, but toward Elvis they were rare. Most felt a mix of admiration and envy, seeing the path he was carving out for himself. Fred Frederick, a childhood friend, defended Elvis against any negative whispers, insisting that the locals loved him as one of their own. Unlike Frank Sinatra, whose hometown was wary of his success, Elvis's neighbors respected and supported him. Life in Lauderdale Courts was simple, filled with friendships and shared experiences. People didn't fight, they helped each other. It was a time when friendships felt genuine, when every day was a chance to make memories. Jack Barrelson and others spoke of those days fondly, though they admitted to some scrapes and fights, all part of growing up. Elvis had dreams, and from a young age, he was determined to make them come true. By 13, he was performing, experimenting with his image and voice, already drawing in crowds. Blanche Gordon Scott, who knew Elvis during those formative years, remembered his passion for entertainment. She wasn't his girlfriend, but she walked with him, witnessing firsthand his growing talent. His voice was evolving, and with it, his confidence. Even back then, those who spent time with Elvis knew he was special, that he was destined for greatness. In this modest apartment, amidst laughter and music, Elvis Presley began his journey. It was here that he first shared his dreams, here that he honed his craft, surrounded by friends who believed in him. Lauderdale Courts may be just a building now, but to those who lived there, it's a sacred ground, a place where the king once roamed as just another boy with a dream. In the heart of Memphis, at Lauderdale Courts, a story unfolds, far removed from the glitz of fame that would later surround Elvis Presley. This was a place where life was simple, where neighbors knew neighbors, and where the community was tight-knit. Elvis grew up here, his early years shaped by the struggles and joys of everyday life, far from the limelight. Lauderdale Courts was a housing project, one of the cheapest places to live. It was here that Elvis's family found a home. His mother, Gladys, was a loving presence, always looking out for her son, while his father, Vernon, was protective, wanting the best for Elvis. It was a place where everyone knew each other's names, where friendships blossomed in the most unexpected ways. Life wasn't easy, the apartments were basic, but they were home. The Presleys didn't own many things, but what they had was cherished. A lawnmower, some tools, and basic appliances were their possessions. People in the community often came together, sharing what little they had. Frederick, who knew the area well, remembered how they'd gather to watch movies at the local cinema, free of charge, with popcorn thrown in. It was these small acts of kindness and shared experiences that made the community thrive. For a young Elvis, life was about friendship and fun. He spent his days playing football and baseball in the parking lot, enjoying the freedom of a world without cars. Exercise came naturally, walking to the swimming pool, running around with friends. There was a sense of camaraderie that came with living closely with others. Elvis wasn't alone. He had his friends like Farley, who would pool their coins to go to shows and circuses, sharing adventures despite their modest means. But life also had its challenges. Elvis once got into a fight over racial tensions, a reminder of the harder realities of life in the South. It was a moment that could have gone wrong, but thankfully it didn't escalate. These were lessons learned in a community where everyone knew each other's struggles. The residents of Lauderdale Courts were a mix of nationalities and religions, living together in a way that was rare at the time. It was a melting pot where everyone was welcome. Food, laughter, and stories filled the air. It wasn't all easy, but it was honest and real. The memories of those days run deep, much like the stories told by the old-timers who lived there. Vernon Presley's job search was a constant struggle, which eventually led to the family's move to Tupelo. But before that, Lauderdale Courts was where Elvis's connection to the place began. It was here that he learned to navigate the world beyond his family, to find joy in simple things and friendships that lasted a lifetime. The apartment where Elvis grew up is now a museum, filled with memories and artifacts from his early life. People visit, eager to connect with the boy who would become a legendary musician. They marvel at the furniture, the radiogram, and even the television set. But for those who lived there, these objects were just part of daily life. It was the people, the laughter, and the shared struggles that truly made Lauderdale Courts special. In the end, Elvis's roots in Lauderdale Courts shaped him in ways that his fame could never erase. It was a place of humble beginnings where a boy with a good voice and a dream found his first friends, his first challenges, and his first sense of belonging. This was the foundation upon which a legend would rise, but it would always remember where it started, in a small, close-knit community where everyone looked out for each other. In the heart of Lauderdale, a story unfolded that would weave itself into the fabric of American music history. Elvis Presley, a young boy with a remarkable voice, grew up among friends who dreamed big, even amid the struggles of their daily lives. Their dreams often centered around the Grand Ole Opry, a place where country music thrived and was celebrated as a true art form. For Elvis and his friends, it was more than just a show, it was a beacon of hope. Elvis's journey began not in the spotlight, but in the shade of his school days. He walked to school with Blanche Gordon Scott, his friend since childhood. They shared dreams of escaping the hardships of their lives, dreams fueled by music. Blanche remembered how Elvis would spread out his shirt for them to sit on, his voice a gift from God, destined for the stage. He wanted to make enough money so his mother wouldn't have to work so hard. To Elvis, joining the ROTC was not about becoming an officer. It was a chance to learn about the military and to dress in something better than his school clothes. The uniforms were a treat, paid for by the armed forces, though he still had to buy shoe polish himself. This was a lesson many learned. Sometimes service offers more than just duty, it provides opportunities. Elvis's friends remembered the thrill of seeing him in his ROTC uniform, a moment that stood out. It was a time when everyone in Lauderdale recognized something special in Elvis. Blanche believed in him, seeing him as better than the others with a voice that could carry him far. She wasn't alone. Elvis often sought her opinion, using her as a sounding board for his music, even as he started to gain small gigs. Frederick had his own memories of sharing laughter and songs with Elvis at cheap restaurants and bars. Elvis was talented, loyal, and never forgot those who supported him. He'd take Fred to the movies or fairs, always sharing the fun. However, these carefree times wouldn't last. As Elvis's income grew, so did his opportunities and his need to move beyond the familiar streets of Lauderdale. The move was inevitable. The Presley family had earned enough to leave behind the Courts, their old home. They first moved to Alabama Street, then to more comfortable places. With this change came a shift in social circles, but Elvis's close friendship with Blanche endured for 6 years, filled with dreams and aspirations. During this time, Elvis found himself at Lansky Brothers, a menswear store that became more than just a shop. It was a place where music and style intersected, especially for someone like Elvis who was finding his unique voice. The store, run by Bernard and Hal Lansky, was known for catering to those who valued style and quality, even if they were not typical rock and roll shoppers. At Lansky's, guitars lined the walls, not for sale, but as decorations and symbols of the shop's connection to music. The store sold more than clothes, it sold an image, a lifestyle. Each guitar was autographed by famous musicians, from Elvis himself to legends like Roy Orbison and B.B. King. These autographs weren't just ink on wood, they were pieces of history, connecting the shop to a legacy of music. For Elvis and his friends, Lansky's represented more than just a place to buy clothes. It was a reminder of where they came from and the dreams they pursued. The shop stood as a testament to the power of music and style, showing that even in the most unexpected places, dreams could flourish. As time passed, Elvis's story spread far beyond Lauderdale. His music touched millions, and his influence on fashion and culture remained strong. But for those who knew him in his early days, places like Lansky Brothers were where the journey truly began. In the heart of Lauderdale, among friends and shared dreams, Elvis Presley was more than a name. He was a part of their history, a reminder of where it all started.